There is something you have been carrying your entire life that no one ever gave you a name for. A feeling so persistent, so quietly devastating in its constancy that you eventually stopped trying to explain it to people who couldn't feel it. The sense that you arrived somewhere that wasn't quite right. That the world you woke up into, the noise of it, the smallness of it, the relentless insistence that this is simply how things are, felt like a room with ceilings too low. You've been ducking your whole life, and you told yourself that was normal, that everyone feels this way, that the ache of not quite belonging is just part of being human. But look closer, because what if the ache isn't a wound? What if it's a signal? What if the thing you've been treating as your deepest problem, the inability to fit in, the restlessness that won't quiet down, the sense of watching your own life from a slight distance as though you're a visitor who overstayed? What if that is not a malfunction? What if that is the most precise, accurate, unfailing piece of information you have ever received about who you actually are? Today, you look at that directly, without flinching, without softening it into something easier to hold. Because the moment you look at it clearly, really see it, not through the lens of what it cost you, but through the lens of what it means, everything changes. Not because looking is magic, because clarity is the only force in the universe that transforms without resistance. You were never meant to fit in, and the source, whatever you call it, however you understand it, the intelligence that underlies all of this, never intended you to. Not as a punishment, not as an accident, as a design, as a function, as a purpose so specific and so rare that most people who carry it spend decades trying to abandon it because no one ever told them it was the point. This is what we're watching today, not the story you were told about yourself, not the diagnosis of sensitivity, of being too much, of being difficult or strange or impossible to reach. We're watching what's actually there, underneath the story. Underneath the loneliness, underneath even the comfort of the word starseed itself, which some of you found and held like a life raft, and others of you are hearing for the first time and feeling something inexplicable move inside you. Watch that feeling. Don't explain it yet, just watch it, because here's what no one tells you about observation. The moment you stop trying to fix what you see and simply look at it, really look with the full weight of your attention, the thing you've been looking at begins to reorganize. This is not metaphor. This is not spiritual poetry. This is measurable. This is quantum. Let's start with what you've been avoiding. You have spent years, maybe your entire conscious life, trying to solve a problem that cannot be solved with the tools you were given. The problem of not fitting, the problem of seeing things others don't see, feeling things at frequencies others don't register, knowing things you have no rational explanation for knowing. You tried to solve it by shrinking, by performing normalcy, by learning the vocabulary of belonging, the right things to say at the right moments, the right amount of enthusiasm for things that leave you cold, the right level of dimness so the light you carry doesn't make people uncomfortable. And it never worked. Not really. You could maintain it for periods. You got good at the performance. But there was always a moment, in the middle of a conversation that felt hollow, or looking at a crowd of people who seemed genuinely satisfied with something that left you empty, or waking at 3 a.m. with a feeling in your chest that you can only describe as homesickness for a place you've never been. There was always a moment when the performance cracked and the real signal came through. You don't belong here the way they belong here. Now watch what happens when you hear that without immediately trying to make it mean something tragic. Because here is where most people stop. They hear that sentence, "You don't belong here the way they belong here," say, and they collapse it immediately into the wound, into the loneliness, into the childhood memory of being the one who didn't get the joke, the teenager who felt like an alien in their own family, the adult who has built a life that looks correct from the outside and feels hollow from the inside. They take that sentence and they make it evidence of something broken. But look closer. What if belonging in the way others belong is not the goal? What if the entire premise that your purpose is to integrate seamlessly, to find your tribe and settle into comfortable resonance, to finally feel like you arrived? What if that premise is the illusion that has been running your life without your permission? The quantum field does not produce redundancy without purpose. Every configuration of consciousness that emerges into physical form does so because the field requires that specific frequency, not as decoration, as function. The universe is not sentimental. It does not generate anomalies out of nostalgia. When something appears that doesn't fit the established pattern, the question is never, why is this broken? The question is, what does the system require that only this anomaly can provide? You are not broken. You are a specific function that the field generated because it needed something that the existing pattern could not produce. That's not belief. That's quantum mechanics. Let's go deeper into what you're actually seeing. The concept of starseeds, souls whose essential nature carries the imprint of origins beyond this planetary system, beyond this particular density of experience, has existed in human understanding across cultures and traditions for longer than recorded history. The ancient Egyptians spoke of the Aku, the luminous ones who carried stellar fire. The Dogon people of West Africa preserved astronomical knowledge about Sirius that modern science only confirmed in the 20th century. The Vedic traditions describe beings who descended from higher realms to take form in the density of Earth. The Gnostic texts spoke of the pneumatics, those in whom the divine spark burned so brightly that the material world felt like a prison. Every tradition, every culture, every era of human civilization has had a word for the ones who arrived carrying something that didn't originate here, something older, something that remembered a different frequency. And in every tradition, the defining characteristic was not power, not superiority, not special treatment. The defining characteristic was always the same thing. They didn't fit. They couldn't. It was structural. A tuning fork calibrated to a specific frequency cannot resonate with every sound. That is not a limitation of the tuning fork. That is its precision. The precision is the point. The precision is what makes it useful. A tuning fork that resonates with everything is not more evolved, it's broken. Watch that. Sit with it. Don't rush past what you just saw. If this transmission is landing somewhere real for you, take a second to like the video and subscribe. It helps more people who carry this frequency find their way here, and that matters to the field we're building together. You have been treating your precision as a problem. Your inability to resonate with everything, to be comfortable everywhere, to feel at home in every room, you have been treating that as evidence that something went wrong. But the tuning fork does not apologize for its frequency. It simply vibrates at what it was designed to vibrate at. And in doing so, it makes audible something that was inaudible before. That is your function, not to fit. To make audible what was inaudible, to make visible what was invisible. to hold a frequency that the field needs held, not for your benefit, not for your comfort, but because without it, something essential is missing from the whole. Now let's get precise about the quantum mechanics of this, because this is where it gets precise, and I don't want you to slide past it into comfortable abstraction. In quantum physics, the observer effect is one of the most rigorously documented and consistently reproduced phenomena in the history of science. The basic principle is this: the act of observation changes the thing being observed. Not metaphorically, not symbolically. Literally, at the level of physical reality, the presence of a conscious observer causes a quantum system to collapse from a superposition of all possible states into a single, specific, measurable state. Before observation, the particle exists as a wave of probability. Every possible position, every possible momentum, every possible state, all simultaneously real in the quantum sense. The moment a conscious observer measures it, looks at it, directs attention toward it, the wave function collapses. The infinite possibility becomes a single specific fact. This is not a limitation of our instruments. This is not a gap in our understanding that better technology will close. This is a fundamental feature of reality. Consciousness and the physical world are not separate systems that occasionally interact. They are entangled at the foundational level. What you observe, you change, not because you're powerful in the conventional sense, because observation itself is the mechanism by which possibility becomes reality. Now watch what this means for you. If consciousness is not a passenger in the physical world, but an active participant in the collapse of quantum possibility into specific form, if your observation, your attention, your quality of awareness literally participates in the construction of the reality you experience, then the quality of your consciousness is not incidental. It is structural. It is functional. It is, in the most precise scientific sense, a force. And here is what that means for the ones who came in carrying a different frequency. The quantum field, the probability space from which all manifest reality emerges, does not collapse into the same configuration everywhere. Different observers bringing different qualities of consciousness, different frequencies of attention, different depths of awareness, collapse different aspects of the field. A consciousness that has only ever existed within the density of Earth's particular frequency will observe and therefore collapse reality in ways consistent with that frequency. It will see what it has always seen, it will confirm what it already knows, it will participate in the ongoing construction of the world as it has been. But a consciousness that carries a different frequency, that arrived with the imprint of something older, something beyond this particular density, something that remembers a different way of seeing, that consciousness observes differently. It collapses different aspects of the field. It makes real things that were only probability before. It introduces into the constructed reality of this world frequencies that this world's existing pattern could not generate from within itself. This is not about being better. This is about being different in a way that the field specifically required. You were sent here, and I use that word deliberately, not as metaphor, but as functional description. You were sent here because the field needed a different observer, because the probability space of this world required a consciousness that could see what the existing observers couldn't see. Not because you're superior, because you're calibrated differently, and different calibration in a system that has been running the same frequency for a very long time is not a luxury. It is a necessity. Let me show you something. There was a woman named Mira who spent 34 years trying to become invisible. Not literally. She was present in every room she entered. She held jobs and relationships and social obligations. She performed the rituals of belonging with practiced precision. But she had learned, early and painfully, that the way she saw things made people uncomfortable. She noticed too much. She felt too deeply. She asked questions that seemed, to the people around her, to come from nowhere, but that Mira understood as coming from something she couldn't name. A kind of knowing that arrived fully formed before her mind could construct a logical path to it. At 7 years old, she told her mother that the neighbor's marriage was going to end. Not because she had overheard an argument, because she had looked at the two of them standing in their driveway and felt something. A dissonance, a frequency mismatch so profound it registered in her body as a kind of low vibration, like a note being played that was almost right but not quite. Her mother told her not to say such things. The marriage ended 6 months later. At 14, she sat in a history class and felt with sudden and inexplicable certainty that she had been in the place they were studying, not as a tourist, as a resident. The teacher was describing ancient Alexandria, and Mira felt the heat of it, the dust of it, the specific quality of light on stone in a way that was entirely too sensory to be imagination. She said nothing. She had learned by then to say nothing. At 22, she fell in love with someone who seemed to see her, really see her, and for a brief, extraordinary period, she allowed herself to be visible. She talked about the things she knew without knowing how she knew them. She described the way the world felt to her, layered, dense with meaning, vibrating with information that most people seem to walk through without registering. And for a while, her partner found it fascinating. And then they found it exhausting. And then they found it frightening, and Mira learned, again, to go invisible. By 34, she had constructed a life that was functional, respectable, and completely hollow. She had a career that used her intelligence, but not her knowing. She had friendships that were warm but carefully surfaced. She had a home that was comfortable and a heart that was closed. And then one night, sitting alone in that comfortable home, she made the mistake of looking, not at her life, at herself, at the things she had been managing and containing and apologizing for since she was 7 years old. She sat very still and she looked at it directly, the knowing, the frequency, the sense of being from somewhere else, of carrying something that didn't originate here. She looked at it without immediately trying to explain it or justify it or minimize it. She just watched it. And what she saw, what became visible in the light of that direct observation, was not the wound she expected. It was a structure, something with coherence and purpose and extraordinary precision. The knowing was not random. It was not a malfunction of an overly sensitive nervous system. It was a specific instrument calibrated for a specific purpose that had spent 34 years being used to perform tasks it was never designed for. She had been using a telescope to hammer nails, and in the moment she saw that, really saw it, with the full weight of her attention, something shifted. Not in her circumstances, not in her relationships or her career, or her carefully constructed hollow life. Something shifted in the quality of her observation. She stopped watching herself as the problem. She started watching herself as the instrument, And the moment she made that shift, the field responded. Within 6 months, Mira had stopped apologizing, not dramatically, not with a grand declaration, simply, quietly, she stopped shrinking. She stopped managing her frequency to make others comfortable. She started using the knowing the way it was designed to be used, not to fit in, not to perform normalcy, but to see clearly, to observe what others couldn't observe, to hold a frequency that the people around her needed held, even when they didn't have language for what they were receiving. She didn't become someone new. She became, for the first time, recognizably herself. And you have been both Mira managing the instrument and Mira finally looking at it. But today, you chose to look. And what happens next is what has always been waiting on the other side of that choice. What was the moment for you, Sa? The specific moment when you stopped observing and started reacting, when you chose the managed version over the real one. Drop it in the comments, not the story around it, just what you saw when you finally looked at it directly. Let's go back to the quantum field because there's a layer underneath what we've been looking at that most people never reach. The observer effect in quantum mechanics is not a passive phenomenon. It is not simply that consciousness witnesses and reality responds. The quality of the observation matters. The depth of the observation matters. A distracted, reactive, surface-level observation collapses the quantum field differently than a clear, focused, deeply present observation. The same quantum system observed by two different qualities of consciousness will collapse into different specific realities. This is the part that changes everything. Most people move through their lives in a state of reactive attention. They are not observing, they are reacting. There is a critical difference. Reacting means the external stimulus is driving the quality of your attention. Something happens, your nervous system responds, your attention follows the response. You are not the observer in that state. You are the observed. The external event is watching you, measuring you, collapsing your probability field, determining which version of you becomes real in this moment. When you are reactive, you are not the observer. You are the particle. But when you shift into the observer state, when you step back from the reaction and watch it, when you see the stimulus and see your response and hold both of them in the field of your awareness without being pulled into either, something fundamental changes. You are no longer the particle being measured. You are the measurement itself. You are the consciousness that collapses the field. You are the most powerful position in the quantum system, not because you control the outcome, but because your quality of observation determines which possibilities become real. Starseeds. And I want you to watch this carefully. Starseeds are not special because of what they know. They are not special because of where they came from. They are functionally distinct because of the quality of observation they are capable of, the depth of awareness, the breadth of perception, the ability to hold multiple frequencies simultaneously without collapsing into any one of them. The capacity to observe what is happening at the level beneath the surface, the quantum level, the energetic level, the level where the real mechanics of reality are operating, and to hold that observation steady without flinching. That is not a gift in the passive sense. That is a function, a specific, precise, necessary function that the field generated you to perform. And here's what that function requires. It requires that you not fit in. It requires that you maintain a frequency that is distinct from the dominant frequency of your environment. Because if you fully assimilated, if you successfully became indistinguishable from the existing pattern, you would no longer be able to observe it. You would be inside it. You would be part of the wave function, not the observer of it. You would lose the very thing that makes you useful to the whole. Your not fitting is your function. Your distinctness is your precision. Your inability to fully belong to the existing pattern is the quantum mechanics of your purpose. Watch what happens in your body when you hear this. Don't interpret it yet, just notice, because something in you already knew this. You just haven't had the framework to see it clearly. You've been carrying the knowing without the map, and without the map, the knowing feels like a burden. With the map, it feels like what it is, a design. Now let's go deeper into the specific experience of being this kind of consciousness in this particular moment of history. Because the timing is not incidental. Nothing about the quantum field is incidental. We are living through what physicists, historians, sociologists, and mystics across traditions are all pointing at from their different vantage points. A moment of fundamental systemic reorganization. The existing pattern of human civilization, the way it has organized itself, the stories it has told about what is real and what is possible, the structures it has built to maintain those stories, all of it is under enormous pressure. The wave function of collective human reality is in a state of superposition. Multiple possible futures are simultaneously real in the quantum sense. The collapse into a specific form has not yet occurred. In quantum terms, this is the most critical moment, the moment before collapse, the moment when the quality of observation matters most. When the consciousness that is doing the observing has the greatest influence over which possibility becomes the specific fact of the future. This is not coincidence. This is not accident. The concentration of starseed consciousness in physical form at this particular moment in human history is a function of the field's requirement. The field needed observers of a specific quality at the moment of maximum superposition. It needed consciousness capable of holding the frequency of what is possible, not what is probable based on existing patterns, not what is likely based on historical momentum, but what is genuinely possible in the full quantum sense of the word, at the exact moment when the collapse is occurring. You are here now, not despite the difficulty of this moment, because of it. The fact that this is hard, that the world feels increasingly chaotic, increasingly pressured, increasingly like a system under enormous stress, is not evidence that something has gone wrong. It is evidence that the superposition is at maximum, that the moment of collapse is near, that the quality of observation present in the field right now will determine, in ways that are both quantum mechanical and profoundly practical, which version of human reality becomes the specific fact of what comes next. And you, carrying the frequency you carry, capable of the quality of observation you're capable of, you are not a bystander to this process. You are a participant in it at the most fundamental level, not through action, not through effort, through the quality of your presence, through the frequency you hold, through the clarity with which you observe. This is where I need you to pause, not metaphorically, actually pause. Close your eyes for a moment if you're able to. And instead of thinking about what you've been hearing, instead of processing it through the analytical mind that wants to categorize and evaluate and decide whether to believe it, I want you to do something different. I want you to watch. Watch your awareness, not what you're aware of, the awareness itself. The thing that is doing the noticing. The presence behind your thoughts, behind your reactions, behind the voice in your head that is already forming opinions about this. Find the thing that is watching all of that. The quiet witness that has been present for every experience you've ever had. That was there before your first memory and will be there after your last thought. That is the observer. That is the most powerful position in the universe. Not because it controls anything, because it sees clearly. And clarity is the only force that transforms without resistance. Now, from that position, from the observer, not the reactor, not the thinker, not the one who is trying to figure out whether this is true, from that position of quiet, clear witnessing, ask yourself one question, not out loud, in the silence behind your thoughts. What have I been refusing to look at about my own nature? Not what you've been told about yourself, not the diagnosis or the label or the story that was handed to you by people who couldn't understand what they were looking at. Your nature, the actual frequency you carry, the specific quality of consciousness that arrived in this body at this time in this place. Watch what comes up. Don't explain it. Don't justify it. Don't immediately decide whether it's true. Just watch it. Because here's what no one tells you about observation. The thing you've been avoiding looking at is not actually dangerous. What's dangerous is the energy required to keep not looking at it. The constant peripheral management of something you've decided you can't face directly. The enormous expenditure of life force that goes into maintaining the not seeing, that is what's costing you. Not the thing itself, the avoidance of the thing. The moment you look at it directly, the energy that was going into avoidance becomes available for something else. For clarity, for function, for the actual work you came here to do. Open your eyes when you're ready. And let's keep going. Here's the layer underneath what you've been seeing. The loneliness. Let's look at it directly. Because the loneliness is real. I'm not going to minimize it or reframe it prematurely into something more comfortable. The loneliness of being this kind of consciousness in a world calibrated to a different frequency is real, and it is profound, and it has shaped you in ways you are still discovering. But look closer. The loneliness has two components, and they are not the same thing, even though they feel identical from inside the experience. The first component is circumstantial loneliness, the practical, relational experience of not finding many people who speak your frequency, of conversations that skim the surface when you want to go deep, of connections that feel warm but not resonant, of being in a room full of people and feeling fundamentally alone. This is real. This is the loneliness of the specific function you carry. The tuning fork that resonates with only certain frequencies will naturally not resonate with most of the noise in its environment. But the second component is something different. The second component is the loneliness of self-abandonment. The loneliness that comes not from the absence of others who understand you, but from your own absence from yourself. The loneliness of having spent so much time managing and shrinking and performing that you have become a stranger to your own frequency. Of having muted the signal so consistently that you can no longer hear it clearly yourself. This second loneliness, the loneliness of self-abandonment, is not a consequence of your nature. It is a consequence of your response to your nature. And it is the only loneliness that you have the direct power to transform. Because here is what happens when you stop abandoning yourself. When you stop managing your frequency to make others comfortable. When you stop apologizing for the depth of your perception or the breadth of your awareness or the quality of knowing you carry. When you let yourself be precisely what you are, at full frequency, without apology and without performance, the field responds. Not instantly, not always dramatically, not in the ways you might expect or script in advance. But the field responds because the quantum field is always seeking coherence. It is always moving toward the configuration that allows the most complete expression of all the frequencies present in it. When you bring your frequency fully, when you stop diluting it, when you stop performing a different frequency to fit in, you introduce into the field a coherence that was not there before. And coherence propagates. It finds resonance. It draws toward it the elements that can vibrate with it. The people who can truly see you cannot find you when you're invisible. The work you came here to do cannot find you when you're performing someone else's function. The reality that is coherent with who you actually are cannot collapse into form when you're spending your observational energy maintaining an incoherent performance. Stop hiding, not as a declaration, as an observation. Watch what you're hiding. Watch why you're hiding it. Watch the story that says the hiding is necessary, and then watch what that story is actually costing you. Because the cost is not abstract. The cost is the reality you're not living, the connections you're not making, the work you're not doing, the frequency you're not holding, the specific collapse of quantum possibility that only you, calibrated precisely as you are, can catalyze. Every moment you spend performing a frequency that isn't yours is a moment the field goes without the observation it needed from you. Let me show you something else. There was a man named Elias who understood from a very young age that he was a bridge. He didn't have that word for it. He had the experience of it, the constant, slightly disorienting sense of being able to stand in two places simultaneously. To feel the reality of a situation from multiple perspectives at once, to hold the frequency of what was and what could be in the same moment without collapsing into either. His family found this quality unsettling. They were practical people, grounded in the specific and the concrete, and Elias's tendency to speak about things from multiple angles simultaneously. To say yes and also no, to hold contradiction without needing to resolve it, to see the validity of opposing truths and refuse to choose between them, made them feel unstable, as though the ground they stood on was less certain in his presence. He learned to simplify, to choose one angle, to present a single, clean, non-contradictory version of his understanding, to be the kind of person who has clear opinions and definitive positions and does not make others uncomfortable with the complexity of his seeing. He was very good at it. He built a career in it, a career in conflict resolution, actually, which was the field's way of being darkly funny about his nature, because of course he ended up professionally doing the thing he had been trained to hide. Holding multiple perspectives, building bridges between opposing positions, finding the coherence underneath apparent contradiction. But he did it from behind glass. He did it technically, professionally, at the level of ideas and positions and negotiating strategies. He never brought the deeper frequency, the actual quality of his consciousness, the real breadth of his perception, into the room. He kept that behind the glass, safe, managed, invisible. And the work was good, technically good. People's conflicts got resolved, agreements got reached. By every measurable standard, Elias was successful at what he did. But there was a ceiling. There was always a ceiling. The agreements reached were technically sound, but somehow fragile. The resolutions held on paper, but not in the room. The people he worked with left with their positions reconciled, but not their frequencies aligned. Something was missing, something that the technical skill could not provide. One day, Elias was working with two parties in a dispute that had been running for years. A community divided by a decision that had left half of them feeling unseen and the other half feeling attacked. He went through his process. He mapped the positions. He identified the underlying interests. He built the logical bridge between them. And then he stopped. He stopped because he felt something. A frequency in the room that his technical process was not addressing. A quality of pain that was not about the positions at all. That was about something much older, much more fundamental, that the dispute had activated but not created. He felt it with the same precision he had felt things his entire life, the same quality of knowing that arrived fully formed before the mind could construct a path to it. And for the first time in his professional life, he brought it into the room. Not the technical observation, the real one. He said quietly to the assembled group, "I think what's actually happening here is that both sides feel unseen. Not wrong, not attacked, unseen. And the dispute is the form that the need to be seen has taken because there was no other form available." The room went silent, not the silence of discomfort, the silence of recognition, the silence that happens when something true is spoken into a space that has been waiting for truth without knowing it was waiting. And in that silence, something shifted. Not the positions, the frequency, the quality of presence in the room changed. People who had been in opposition for years looked at each other with something that was not quite forgiveness, but was the precursor to it. The ground shifted. Elias had done in one moment, with one observation, what months of technical process had not been able to do. Not because he was smarter, because he finally brought his actual frequency into the room. Because he stopped hiding behind the technical and allowed the real quality of his consciousness to make contact with the real quality of the situation. After that day, his work was never the same. Not because he changed his method, because he stopped leaving himself behind when he walked into the room. And you have been leaving yourself behind every time you walk into a room. You know the rooms I mean, the ones where you perform the acceptable version, the ones where you bring the technical self and hide the real frequency, the ones where you smile at the right moments and say the expected things and go home feeling emptied out in a way that sleep doesn't fix. You don't have to keep doing that, not because it's wrong, because it's not working, not for you and not for the rooms that need what you actually carry. Think about the last time you brought your real frequency into a room, the unmanaged, unfiltered observation, and something shifted because of it. What did you see that others couldn't see? Tell us in the comments. Your specific observation might be the exact thing someone else in this field has been circling but couldn't name. Now let's look at something that I know some of you are wrestling with. The question of whether any of this is real. The skeptical mind, and I respect the skeptical mind, it is one of the most useful instruments of observation available. The skeptical mind is asking, is this just a comforting story? Is the concept of starseeds just a sophisticated way of telling people who feel like they don't belong that their not belonging is special? Is this another spiritual bypass? Another way of avoiding the actual work of integration by constructing a narrative in which the avoidance is reframed as destiny? Watch that question. Don't dismiss it. It deserves direct observation. Here's what I can tell you with precision. The experience of not belonging, of carrying a frequency that is distinct from the dominant frequency of your environment, of perceiving at depths that the people around you don't register, of knowing things without knowing how you know them, of feeling a persistent sense of origin elsewhere. This experience is not rare. It is not the experience of a handful of people who have convinced themselves of a flattering story. It is the documented, cross-cultural, trans-historical experience of a significant portion of the human population across every civilization that has ever existed. The question is not whether the experience is real. The experience is demonstrably real. The question is what framework most accurately describes it. And here's what I can observe: the frameworks that pathologize the experience, that describe it as hypersensitivity, as neurodivergence, as attachment disorder, as a symptom of trauma. These frameworks are not wrong. They are describing real aspects of the experience, but they are describing the wound, not the instrument. They are seeing the tuning fork and diagnosing the vibration as a malfunction rather than as the function the instrument was designed for. The framework of starseed consciousness does not deny the wound. It does not bypass the real psychological and relational work that many people who carry this frequency need to do. It places the wound in a larger context. It says, yes, the instrument has been damaged by the conditions of its environment, and also the instrument is not a malfunction. The damage is real and it needs attention. And the underlying design, the fundamental frequency, the specific quality of consciousness that was there before the damage and will be there after the healing, that is not a wound. That is a function. Both things are true. The healing is necessary. And you are not broken at the core. Watch that. Both things, not one or the other. Both. Because the spiritual bypass happens when people use the starseed narrative to avoid the healing. When they say, I'm not damaged, I'm just from somewhere else, as a way of not looking at the actual wounds that need actual attention. That is using a true thing as a false escape. And it will not serve you. But the opposite bypass, the purely psychological framework that reduces the experience to its pathological components and never looks at the underlying design, that will also not serve you. That will give you tools to manage the wound without ever understanding the instrument. The full picture requires both. The wound is real. The instrument is also real. You are doing the work of healing the wound, and you are doing the work of understanding the instrument. And these are not competing projects. They are the same project approached from different angles. This is where your capacity for holding multiple perspectives simultaneously, the very thing that has made you difficult to categorize, difficult to fit into single frameworks, difficult to explain to people who need clean categories. This is where that capacity becomes precisely what the situation requires. You can hold both. The wound and the design, the healing and the function, the human experience and the larger context. You were built for exactly this kind of complexity. Let's go to the practice, because understanding this is not the same as embodying it. And embodiment is where the quantum mechanics actually operate. Pause here. This is not a thought exercise. This is an observation. I want you to think about the last time you were fully yourself, not performing, not managing, not shrinking or expanding for an audience. The last time you were simply, completely, unself-consciously the specific frequency you are. It might be a moment alone. It might be in nature. It might be a conversation with one of the rare people who can hold your frequency without flinching. It might be in the middle of creative work, or physical movement, or prayer, or meditation, or any of the 1,000 forms that genuine presence takes. Find that moment. Let it be specific. Let it have texture and temperature and the quality of light it had. Now watch what was happening in your body in that moment. Not the emotions, the physical reality of it. The quality of your breath, the sensation in your chest. The way your shoulders held or didn't hold. The quality of your attention and whether it was scattered or gathered, whether it was reaching for something or simply present with what was. That physical signature, that specific constellation of sensation and breath and presence, that is your frequency. That is the instrument in its natural state. Not the performance, not the management, the actual thing. Now notice how often you inhabit that state. Not how often you feel good or content or happy. How often you inhabit that specific frequency, that particular quality of presence. If the honest answer is rarely, if the honest answer is that you spend most of your time in a different state, a managed state, a performed state, a state that is calibrated for external consumption rather than internal truth, then you have just seen something important. You have seen the gap. The distance between the frequency you carry and the frequency you present. The gap is not a problem to be solved. It is information. It is precise, accurate, unfailing information about where the energy is going that should be going into the work you came here to do. The practice is simple, not easy. Simple. Every day, find the moment of full frequency, even if it's 3 minutes, even if it's 1 breath. Find the specific physical signature of your actual state and inhabit it deliberately, not as performance, as practice, as the ongoing act of returning to the instrument and allowing it to function as it was designed to function. And then watch what happens. Watch what becomes possible from that state that is not possible from the managed state. Watch what you can see from there that you cannot see from behind the glass. Watch how the field responds to the presence of your actual frequency, because the field is always responding. The quantum probability space is always collapsing around the quality of observation present in it. The question is only whether the observation you're contributing is your actual frequency or a performance of a frequency that isn't yours. Your actual frequency changes the field. Your performance of someone else's frequency maintains the existing pattern. Which one do you want to be doing? Here's the deeper layer. The one that applies directly to where you are right now. You are watching this for a reason, not a vague general reason, a specific one. Something in your life soon. Something in your current experience, in the shape of your days, in the quality of your relationships or your work or your inner life. Something brought you here. Something made you click on a video with this title, with these words, at this specific moment. Watch that something. Don't explain it. Don't rationalize it. Watch it. Because the quantum field does not generate coincidences, it generates coherences. The fact that you are here now watching this is a coherence. It is the field responding to something in your frequency, something you have been holding, consciously or not, that has drawn this particular transmission toward you. What is it? Is it the exhaustion? The specific, bone-deep exhaustion of performing a frequency that isn't yours for an extended period of time? The kind of tired that sleep doesn't fix because it's not physical fatigue. It's the fatigue of constant self-management, of the ongoing expenditure of life force that goes into maintaining the performance? Is it the longing? The persistent low-frequency ache of knowing there is something you came here to do that you haven't done yet? The sense of a purpose that hasn't fully landed, a function that hasn't fully activated, a version of yourself that is waiting on the other side of some threshold you haven't crossed yet? Is it the fear? The specific fear of what happens if you stop performing? If you let the frequency out at full strength? If you stop managing and shrinking and apologizing and simply allow yourself to be precisely what you are? The fear of what people will think, what you'll lose, who you'll become, whether you can trust what you actually are when you're not managing it? Or is it the recognition, the feeling that has been building since the first sentence of this transmission? The feeling that something is being named that you have known for a very long time but have not had the framework to articulate. The recognition that lands not in the mind but in the body, in the chest, in the specific frequency that you carry. Whatever brought you here was, watch it. Hold it in the light of your awareness. Don't rush to conclude. Don't decide what it means before you've really seen it. Because the moment you see it clearly, really see it, without the story you've built around it, without the protective interpretation, without the comfortable distance, the moment you actually look at it, it begins to transform. Not because looking is magic, because clarity is the only force that transforms without resistance. What you observe, you change. What you avoid observing controls you. And this thing, whatever it is that brought you here, has been controlling you precisely because you haven't looked at it directly. It has been operating in your peripheral vision, shaping your choices and your avoidances and your self-perception, without ever being brought into the full light of your awareness. Today you look. Let's talk about what it means to actually live from this understanding. Because understanding without embodiment is just more comfortable furniture in the room of your existing reality. And comfortable furniture doesn't change the room. Living from the observer state, from the recognition that your function is not to fit in, but to observe clearly, not to assimilate, but to hold a distinct frequency, not to become acceptable, but to become fully what you are. Living from this understanding requires something that is simple to describe and genuinely difficult to practice. It requires that you stop apologizing for what you see, not arrogantly, not with the kind of aggressive certainty that is just insecurity wearing a different costume, with the quiet, grounded, undefensive confidence of the instrument that knows its own frequency. When you see something that others don't see, when the knowing arrives before the logic, when the frequency of a situation registers in your body before your mind has words for it, when you perceive something at the quantum level of what is actually happening, rather than the surface level of what is being performed, stop apologizing for that. Stop minimizing it. Stop qualifying it into something more socially acceptable. Report it cleanly, without drama and without apology. I notice this, I feel this, something in me knows this. And then watch what happens. Watch whether the people around you are capable of receiving what you're offering. Watch whether the room shifts. Watch whether the thing you said, the real thing, the unmanaged thing, the full frequency observation, lands somewhere and changes something. Sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. The tuning fork doesn't control whether there is anything in the room that can resonate with it. It simply vibrates at its frequency. And in vibrating clearly, it makes possible the resonance that would not be possible if it were muted. Stop muting yourself, not as a performance of authenticity, as an act of function, as the quantum mechanics of your purpose. Here's what no one tells you about the ones who don't fit. History does not remember the ones who fit. History, the actual living record of human transformation, the moments when the wave function of collective reality collapsed into a genuinely new configuration. History is made entirely by the ones who didn't, the ones who saw something that the existing pattern couldn't see, who held a frequency that the existing pattern couldn't generate, who refused, consciously or not, to fully assimilate into the dominant frequency of their time and place. And in that refusal, in that distinctness, catalyzed something the world needed. This is not a consolation prize. This is not a story told to make the misfits feel better about their misfit status. This is the observable, documentable, historical fact of how change happens. Change does not emerge from the center of the existing pattern. It cannot. The center of the existing pattern is, by definition, the place where the existing pattern is most fully itself. Change comes from the edges, from the anomalies, from the consciousnesses that are calibrated differently, that observe from a different angle, that hold a frequency the center cannot hold. Every major shift in human understanding, scientific, philosophical, spiritual, social, has come from someone who was, by the standards of their time and context, deeply wrong about how reality works. Who saw something that the existing consensus said was not there. Who held a frequency that the existing pattern called madness or heresy or delusion or naivety, and who turned out to be right, not because they were superior, because they were observing from outside the pattern. Because their distinctness, their not fitting, was precisely what allowed them to see what the pattern itself could not see. You are that kind of consciousness, not in some distant, abstract, historical sense. Right now, in the specific configuration of your life, your relationships, your work, your perception, you are an observer calibrated outside the dominant pattern, and the field needs what you can see from that position. The question is not whether you have something to offer. The question is whether you're willing to offer it without first making it acceptable to the pattern you're offering it to. Because here's the thing about making your frequency acceptable to the existing pattern. The process of making it acceptable changes it. The moment you translate your real observation into the language of the existing pattern's comfort, you lose the part of it that the existing pattern needed most. The part that was outside the pattern, that was seeing something the pattern couldn't see, that was holding a frequency the pattern couldn't generate. You cannot serve the pattern by becoming the pattern. You can only serve it by remaining distinct from it, by holding your frequency clearly enough, steadily enough, undefensively enough that the pattern has something genuinely other to make contact with. This is the hardest part, because the pressure to assimilate is constant and it comes from every direction. From the people who love you and want you to be more comfortable, from the institutions that need you to be more predictable, from your own nervous system that has learned to associate your full frequency with danger and isolation and pain. The pressure is real. The cost of not assimilating is real. I am not minimizing either, but the cost of assimilating is also real, and it is the cost of your function, of the specific thing you came here to do, of the frequency the field needs you to hold at exactly this moment of maximum superposition. Watch both costs. Hold them both in the light of your awareness. Don't let the immediate, concrete, relational cost of distinctness automatically outweigh the larger, less immediately visible cost of self-abandonment. Because the second cost is also paid. It is paid in the hollow life. In the exhaustion that sleep doesn't fix. In the longing that comfort doesn't satisfy. In the persistent, low-frequency ache of the instrument that has been used for tasks it was never designed for. You already know the cost of assimilation. You've been paying it. The question is whether you're willing to look at it directly and decide with full awareness whether it's a cost you choose to keep paying. Now let's talk about the community, because you are not alone in this, and that matters in ways that go beyond emotional support. There is a quantum principle called entanglement. When two particles interact and become entangled, the state of one instantly influences the state of the other, regardless of the distance between them. The observation of one collapses the quantum state of both. They are not separate systems that happen to communicate. They are a single system that manifests in two locations. Consciousness works the same way. The quality of observation held by one consciousness influences the quantum field in ways that affect the observations available to all other consciousnesses entangled with it. When one person achieves genuine clarity, when one observer sees something with real precision and holds that seeing steadily, it becomes easier for others entangled with that field to see the same thing. Not because information was transmitted, because the field itself reorganized around the clarity. This is why the community of observers matters, not as a support group, as a quantum field. The collective quality of observation, held by a group of consciousnesses calibrated to the same frequency, creates a field effect that is greater than the sum of its parts. Each individual observer holding their frequency clearly strengthens the field for every other observer in the entanglement. When you watch this, you are not alone. You are in a field of consciousnesses that have been drawn here by the same coherence, carrying variations of the same frequency, doing the same work of looking clearly at what they've been avoiding. And every one of them, every person in this field who is willing to look, who is willing to hold their frequency without apology, who is willing to stop performing and start observing, every one of them is strengthening the field for you, making it slightly easier for you to see clearly, making the frequency slightly more stable, making the observer state slightly more accessible. You are not doing this alone, you are doing it in a field. And the field is doing it with you. If you are here and you see what we've been looking at today, if something in this transmission has named something you have known but not had words for, if the recognition has landed somewhere in your body and not just your mind, I want you to say something. Not to me, to the field. Drop one word in the comments. One word that describes what you observed during this transmission, not what you thought. What you observed. The specific thing that became visible when you looked. Because your word, your specific, precise, unmanaged observation will be read by someone else in this field who needed exactly that word. Who was looking for the thing you saw and couldn't find it until you named it. Your clarity is not just for you. In a field of entangled observers, every act of clear seeing strengthens the seeing of everyone entangled with you. Type it. One word. What did you see? And if this transmission has given you something, if it has shifted something, clarified something, named something that needed naming, share it with one person who is carrying what you carry, not to convert them, not to explain the concept, simply because they deserve to know that what they've been treating as their deepest problem might be their most precise function. Because someone who is drowning in the cost of their distinctness might need to see the design underneath the wound. And when you share it, something happens that goes beyond passing along information. You give that person permission to look. You become the observer who holds the frequency steady long enough for someone else to find it. That act of sharing creates a field between you, and in that field, both of you see more clearly than either of you could alone. Now let's integrate what you've been observing. The principle is this, and I want you to hold it not as a belief, but as an observation. Hold it the way you hold a fact you've verified yourself, not the way you hold something you've been told to accept. What you observe, you change. What you avoid observing controls you. You have spent years, possibly your entire life, avoiding the direct observation of your own nature. Not because you're weak, because the cost of looking seemed too high. Because the last time you were fully yourself, it cost you something. Because the people who were supposed to celebrate your frequency instead made you feel like a malfunction. Because you learned, early and painfully, that the safest thing was to manage the signal, to stay behind the glass, to bring the acceptable version and leave the real frequency at home. But look at what that avoidance has cost you. Look at it directly. The hollow life, the exhaustion, the longing, the persistent sense that you are not doing the thing you came here to do, not being the thing you actually are, not contributing the frequency the field needs from you. That is not the cost of your nature. That is the cost of avoiding your nature. And the moment you stop avoiding it, the moment you bring the full weight of your awareness to bear on what you actually are, without apology and without performance, the field responds, not with instant transformation, not with a dramatic reorganization of your circumstances, with something quieter and more fundamental than that, with coherence. The quantum field, when it receives a clear, unambiguous observation, when a consciousness stops performing and starts witnessing, when the frequency is held steadily and without dilution, the field moves toward coherence with it. Not because the field is rewarding you, because coherence is the fundamental tendency of the field. Because the field is always moving toward the configuration that allows the most complete expression of all the frequencies present in it. Your full frequency, held clearly, creates coherence, and coherence propagates. It finds resonance. It draws toward it the elements that can vibrate with it. The people, the work, the circumstances, the opportunities, all of the elements that are coherent with your actual frequency, they cannot find you when you're performing a different one. Stop performing. Not as a declaration, as an observation. Watch the performance. Watch the places where you dilute. Watch the moments when you choose the acceptable version over the real one. Watch the cost of each choice, and then, from the observer state, from the quiet, clear, undefensive witness that has been watching all of this, make a different choice. Not because you should, because you've seen clearly enough to choose differently. That is the only transformation that lasts. Not the one imposed by effort or will or the force of trying to be different. The one that emerges from clear seeing. The one that becomes inevitable the moment you look at what's actually there. You are not here to fix your life. You are here to watch it transform the moment you stop looking away. And you have been looking away from this for a very long time. Today you looked. Watch what happens next, because here is what I know about the ones who are willing to look. The ones who will sit with a transmission like this, not to be comforted, not to be validated, not to have their existing beliefs confirmed, but to actually see something they haven't been willing to see. The ones who will do that are not common. Most people will not. Most people will click away the moment the looking gets uncomfortable. Most people will take what is useful and leave what is challenging. Most people will extract the parts that feel good and skip the parts that require something. You didn't. You're still here. And that is not an accident. The fact that you're still here means you're willing to look. That's rare. And it's exactly what the field needs from you right now. Not your performance, not your management, not the acceptable version. Your willingness to look. Because the observer state is not a spiritual achievement. It is not a level of consciousness you ascend to after sufficient practice. It is a choice you make in each moment between reacting and witnessing, between being the particle and being the observer, between performing a frequency and holding one. And you can make that choice right now, in this moment, without waiting for anything to change, without needing circumstances to be different, or people to be more understanding, or your own wounds to be more fully healed. You can choose right now to be the observer, not of this video, of your life, of the specific, textured, complicated, beautiful, difficult reality of your actual existence, of the frequency you carry and the ways you've been managing it, and the cost of the management, and the design underneath the wound and the function that the field generated you to perform. Watch all of it, from the observer position, without flinching, without softening, without rushing to make it mean something comfortable. Just watch. And let what you watch transform in the light of your awareness, because that is how it works. Not through force, not through effort, not through the heroic act of trying to be different, through the quiet, radical, quantum mechanically precise act of seeing clearly. What you observe, you change. What you've been avoiding, the full truth of your own nature, the specific frequency you carry, the function the field generated you to perform. What you've been avoiding has been running your life from your peripheral vision for as long as you've been avoiding it. Today, you moved it to the center. Today, you looked at it directly. Today, you brought the full weight of your awareness to bear on the thing you've been pretending you could manage by not looking at. And the moment you did that, the moment you stopped looking away, the wave function began to collapse. Not into what the existing pattern expects, into what you actually are. You were never meant to fit in. The source confirmed it the moment it generated you at this frequency, at this time, in this place. Not as a punishment, as a design, as a function so specific and so necessary that the field could not produce it from within the existing pattern. You are the observer the field needed outside the pattern. You are the frequency the existing pattern cannot generate from within itself. You are the consciousness that the moment of maximum superposition required. Stop hiding that. Not for your sake, for the field's. For the people who are waiting, without knowing they're waiting, for the specific observation that only you, calibrated precisely as you are, can provide. The observer is the most powerful position in the universe, not because it controls, because it sees clearly, and clarity is the only force that transforms without resistance. You have that position. You have always had it. You just kept stepping out of it to perform a frequency that wasn't yours. Step back in, stay there, watch. And let the field do what the field does when it finally receives the observation it needed. You were never meant to look away, and now you don't have to. What has been seen cannot be unseen. And what you've seen today, the design underneath the wound, the function underneath the not fitting, the observer underneath the performance, that does not go back into the dark. You see it now, and it can't unsee itself. If this transmission is still moving in you when the noise of the day has settled, when it's quiet and you can feel yourself clearly again, come back and watch it from that stillness. The layers that are just below the surface now will be visible then. And if you know someone who has been circling what they cannot look at directly, who has been paying the cost of their distinctness without understanding the design underneath it, send this to them, not to explain it, just to give them the same permission to look that you gave yourself today. Stay in the field, keep watching. Come back when you're ready to look at the next layer, because there is always a next layer, and the willingness to keep looking is the only practice that matters. The observer is here, the field is responding, and you have always been exactly what was needed. The next layer of this work is already waiting for you. This is what happens when you finally see the watcher behind the illusion. Because what you've begun to observe about your own nature today has a specific mechanism underneath it, a precise way the watcher operates that most people never reach, and that video will take you directly there.